Hello, hello. Good evening, good day, whatever, depending on where you are. Today's going to be a quick one. I have family over, so can't really do too long. Um, but I mean, lots has happened. Bitcoin's dumped. It's a little bit of a new paradigm because Bitcoin's dumped and altcoins have dumped less. Like at least the decent altcoins have dumped less by quite a bit, actually. Um, And before it's been like Bitcoin dumps a little bit, altcoins just completely go to zero. Now it's the opposite. So there's a few things to talk about, but yeah, um, like I said, I don't have much time, so we're gonna rush through, see what happens. But yeah, so before we start, big shout out to Woo for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate their support. If you wanna go check them out, the links are in the description. They have an excellent decentralized exchange. That's where the link is going to lead you to if you're interested. If not, also cool. Hi, Don. Are we all going to die? Actually, yes. Every single one of you is going to die. Just some faster than others. But yeah, so Bitcoin currently not looking too hot. Finally broke down on the monthly. Probably gonna close below the monthly support here, and that's gonna be resistance for the next bounce, right? Like 94k ish. We'll see how that goes. We only have 2 days left for the monthly close, and this is not the best. Still not bearish, but it's because the monthly is so slow. More interesting, the weekly time frame. I think that is actually the most actionable time frame that we have, and there's one good setup, I think, for the bulls, and I don't really see a good setup for the bears. We had a good setup last week and the week before for the bears, but now I think that's played out. The bullish setup that I like the best is, and we talked about this last week and the week before, where I was like, you can just wait until we get back above 100k, start closing above 100k, and then be bullish. You don't need to be bullish here. That worked out quite well because it prevented you from just buying into whatever that was. And now I think that kind of like minimum that Bitcoin has to do to get back bullish is a reclaim of 90k. So anything that is above the range low here, to me, that be incredibly bullish. But until that happens, I mean, this is just, I mean, it's a range breakdown, right? And you shouldn't really assume that the range, like that's a range, like a false range breakdown until it's confirmed that it is. Most of the time when ranges fail, they actually fail. So gotta be a little bit cautious on the Bitcoin front, I think. I still feel like we're in for like a bounce in the 80s, but so far TA wise, there's not really a good reason to. And then on the lower time frames, it's just been 3 days of straight up dumpage. The S&P helped a little bit, but honestly, like this is largely crypto native. Probably a little bit of fallout from the Bybit hack coupled with just general weakness. So yeah, lost the range. Same kind of deal here on the daily time frame as on the weekly, like 90k reclaim. I don't think this is relevant anymore. Like this is basically the resistance to beat, 90k. Until then, like there's no real support that we can talk about. So if you want a knife catch, you just want to knife catch like disgusting looking hourly candles, basically 4 hour, whatever, because you're probably not gonna get anything near support for at least a bounce. Questions, Don? Why are you using wicks for this over body like usual? Because it's cleaner. The weekly time frame is just cleaner. Like you can use the body up here, and that's fine. But this encompasses more price action. But it doesn't really matter. No difference. If you use the bodies and you want to argue like, hey, we need to reclaim 93k, I'm down with it. But I think at that point, like you might actually just long into like cluster of resistance, if anything. I think 90k is quite nice. But yeah, bought first clip at 82k. Yeah, I mean, that's not bad. I generally think 80k, like low 80k, is a decent area, like just distance wise. Is this crash more bullish longer term? No, I don't think so. I don't like crashes are rarely bullish longer term. Obviously, like you can argue like, hey, we're building structure, whatever. But nah, if this would have gone up, it's not like that would have been more bearish. But yeah, that's Bitcoin. Like I said, reclaim 90k, and that's good. Otherwise, just knife catching. I think anywhere, like we're getting pretty close. I generally see a lot of altcoin strength, which is really weird. So there's definitely like a lot of people bidding altcoins, or like some people that are like really want their bags filled, because there's obviously people panicking. Yeah, we'll talk about that. So ETH, same story as always, just underperforming, not great. Actually broke the diagonal. This is just disgusting. Needs a lot to kind of make that look better again. I will just pretend this doesn't exist, and that will make me happier. Good thing is ETH BTC, this kind of doesn't look that bad to me. And I know you're gonna say like, hey, this is just down only, but to me, at worst, this looks like we're gonna put something in like this, where it's just gonna go sideways. At best, this is gonna be reverses. So ETH BTC actually doesn't look that bad, and this is honestly the same story on all the coins that are actually decent. And ETH BTC is actually one of the worst looking ones. Like if you go over the Bitcoin pairs, like XRP BTC looks excellent on the weekly, looks excellent on the daily. Like to me, this is a really good chart. It's basically like putting in the range, high low so far, strong buying yesterday. Bitcoin's nuking, no tomorrow. Nothing's happening today on XRP BTC. Like Bitcoin's down 6%, XRP BTC is down 0%. That is quite significant strength. So you see a lot of the altcoins, like Litecoin. Look at this. This is one that I bought yesterday. It's kind of rescuing me right now because I bought like a couple things yesterday. I'm pretty much break even or like a little bit down on some of them. But I'm up even in USD on Litecoin, like almost 10%, actually 10%. So you're seeing a bunch of strength on the Bitcoin pairs, on good coins, right? Even the ones that you usually wouldn't chart, like even the shitty coins, to be honest. Like look, like this is a shitty coin, and you're seeing, I mean, this obviously like very, very little. Like you have to zoom in very, very far. But considering that this was or is one of the worst days for Bitcoin, the fact that these are all green, like the same with like Link. I saw that earlier. Do you have it in my list? Yeah, look, Link is up 4%. Like that looks quite sandy. Atom is up 10%. Also looks quite good. Like considering the fact that Bitcoin's just rugging, right? Like you go through all of these, like Bitcoin, like the shittiest of the shit. Like this is what usually happens when Bitcoin goes down. This is what's happening now, which makes me think that we're gonna have altcoin outperformance. Whenever Bitcoin bottoms, I think that's where you're gonna see big moves on some of these coins on the altcoin front. I like a lot of these charts. Best ones, obviously the ones that I hold, which is XRP and Litecoin. And the reason why I'm saying obviously is because I'm otherwise I wouldn't hold them. Two, I'm gonna always say that because I'm holding them, right? But there's a lot of altcoins. You go through the list against Bitcoin that look excellent, and like I said, the fact that it is happening today, where Bitcoin is dumping, is a really good sign. Do you hold Fartcoin? Tell the truth, please. I don't, but I understand why people do. It's one of the only altcoins, the only meme coins that tempts me. Have you considered turning some ETH into XRP Litecoin? I already have XRP in Litecoin, so I don't need more. Don, how do you recover from major losses? I'm down 7 fix from portfolio all-time high and absolutely hate myself. I mean, you go through that. You go through these kind of like periods of grief, and then at some point you're just like, I mean, I'm just gonna move on, right? And if you cannot do that, trading's just not for you. But it takes a while. Like, don't beat yourself up just because you cannot get over that feeling. But I mean, this is just part of trading. And then, like, the best thing to do is kind of figure out whether you fucked up and should have never been down that much, or if it's just part of the game. Like if I'm down an arbitrary amount on a coin, right? But it's like 5 times as much, like 5 times more than I should be down on any trade. I'm like, okay, I just really fucked this up. But if I'm like down an astronomical amount on something that was high conviction, like a high conviction trade, and I just like, it's just not going my way, then I mean, it's just how it is, part of the game. You risk some, you always risk some to gain some, right? But yeah, don't get stuck up on it. But it's easier said than done. Takes a while. Just need to realize that at least if you're trading decently, this is how your portfolio is always gonna look. Like, you're gonna have these massive drawdowns and it's gonna go back up, and then like, this is optimum trader in my opinion. Like, this is if your P&L looks like this, you're Chad. Like, this is really good. But then obviously, like, these drawdowns can be massive, right? Especially if you start out with nothing. I still remember started out with literally, like, I mean, I started out with $50, right? And then I went to, like, I traded my way up, and I was in the 6-figure range. And then in one day I lost like 10 grand. This is quite a while back. And I was like, what the fuck, right? Like, I lost like 10 grand. I started with $50, and I was like, holy shit. And then I realized, like, I'm just at a different point in trading right now, and like, that 10% loss is obviously awful, but it's not the end of the world. And then you just get used to it. And then there's been days where I lose more than what I had back then, right? Like, there's been days where I've lost quite significantly more than that portfolio that I back then had. So it's just how it goes, part of the game. Bitcoin dominance dumping hard. Yeah, I mean, I'm smelling something in the air. I think the moment Bitcoin goes up, like literally the moment you see like a bunch of green candles, like let's say the 5-minute chart does something like this, and then dips a little and starts moving up, you're gonna see big candles on these coins, the ones that are acting really well. And the reason why I'm showing it to you on the 5 minutes, because we are in a very volatile moment of the market. But look at this, like, this is insane. Like, there's clearly strong buying on Litecoin. Someone's just loading up. I was quite lucky to kind of get in because I noticed that the reason why I like Litecoin is because basically we have the monthly support here in an ascending triangle, with it being one of the most obvious ETF coins. I like all of those things. And I look at this and it seems like a really good chart. This has XRP potential to me, where like it suddenly goes like 3x and people are like, what the fuck, how? And then I'm going to be like, this was just kind of obvious, no? That's kind of like how I look at Litecoin. I could be wrong and this could just fucking dump to pieces, but I like it. Same with XRP, like this is hilariously bullish still. It's just, it depends on Bitcoin not going to shit. And right now Bitcoin isn't stopping, but once it does stop, I think a lot of these are going to go up quite a bit. Boomers buying trash? Always. Always. Started with 100k, turned into 2 million, back down to 500k and down 1.5 million. Yeah, okay, that's pretty brutal. But I mean, you're still up 5x, depending on when you started, which does, like, I mean, that sounds kind of like the story of someone that started relatively recently. That's still a 5x. Just walk away, take like a week break, and then look at it from a different viewpoint, in my opinion. That's what I do. But like if I fuck up massively, you kind of get caught in this kind of trash trading loop where you just kind of take one trash trade after another just because you want to make back what you lost. Not the best. Even if you're right, you're gonna be wrong by fumbling the positions and shit. How come you think bottom in the 80s? Basically, I think we're still bullish. And if we go to the 70s, right, like a lot of people are saying like, hey, we're going to retest this old range. I think that'd be incredibly bearish. At that point, I think it's kind of like we do something like this and we're kind of fucked for a while. And the only real area that we can prevent us from showing that massive sign of weakness would be 80s. So like pretty close to where we are right now in price. Like anywhere closer to 70, and I think it starts turning the chart quite bearish. And given I think it's still bullish, I think 80s. But TA wise, I mean, just generally, like if you want to be careful, and I think that's something that in these market conditions with Trump as president, you kind of want to be careful. Like you buy above 90K, it's not that bad. If I told you this a week ago, like that you should buy 90K, you'd be like, oh yeah, I should buy support. Now we're trading at 84. And what I'm actually talking about is kind of like a reclaim of 90. Makes it much easier. I think the top is in. How about you? I don't think so. I think worst case, we're going to do something like this. Again. Like that's to me worst case. I'd be shocked, completely shocked if we didn't do it. So basically, like if this is bearish, I could see something like this where we bounce, come back up, start walking up, make a new high, and then just fucking dump. Basically something like we did in here. Or something similar. It doesn't even have to make a new high, but something like this maybe. I generally think the chances of us topping at 100K, like a double top or something, increase exponentially if we don't hold 80Ks here. Stop drawing this cancer, please. Dude, I drew the God tier cancer ages ago. Look at that. This is what I drew. Awful. Awful. Your Kamala Trump wins drawing is looking good right now. What made you change your mind on it? Could you talk about that? I was pretty sure like if Trump won that we would go short term up. And so the reasoning why I did this chart, right, is because basically I knew a lot of people were betting on Trump winning. So obviously I never thought we would go back to 11K. I always thought like the Harris pullback would like stop here somewhere in the 40s. Like this is obviously exaggerated to make a point. The upside obviously wasn't, but this kind of like I didn't think it would go like anywhere close to 15K. But anyway, my reasoning was a lot of people were betting on Trump in crypto, and I think if Harris would have gotten president, they would have de-risked and it would kind of just lead to weakness. So I kind of thought it would maybe do something like this, right? So where we dump, a lot of people are wrongly positioned. A lot of people are fearful that Harris is going to make like a bunch of anti-crypto regulation, and then turns out it's a nothing burger, nothing happens. The reason why I drew the Trump line the way I did was because I knew that would be a positive catalyst and that we would go higher. 100K seemed like a decent kind of bet, like going towards like 100K just makes sense. Like at 70K, what's the next resistance? It's 100. That's why I drew 100. And then I was like, Trump is probably not going to do shit for crypto. I know how Trump operates. He says a lot, does not everything he says. So it's kind of like, I think Trump is kind of using the crypto people to gain votes. And then he's going to kind of like fuck us all over. That's kind of what I thought. And the fucking us over part was the going back to 60K, which is kind of what happened. But also, like, he's been saying more bullish things than I expected. He did launch a meme coin, grifted like billions out of the ecosystem, but he also kind of held up on some of the crypto promises, and his general stance seems much more friendly than I expected him to be. He's kind of ignoring it right now, but I just like generally like the reason why I don't necessarily think we're gonna play this fractal is because I think he's more positive than I thought, and I basically was like the disillusion from Trump is gonna take us quite low. I don't necessarily think that has to happen now. But it could still happen. And I mean, I was pretty bang on that he was gonna like, say a lot, but then don't do much. So far, there's not really been that much happening. But I would say I was still wrong on that because he's done much more than I expected. Like he's done little. He could do more, obviously, but he's done much more than expected, which is why I think there's a good chance that we don't go to 60 and stay in the 80s. But I could be wrong. Ignoring is good. If everyone is betting on him doing good shit, and it's the problem, right? I think the crypto markets would be much more bullish if people didn't price in insane shit. And this happens all the time. Don, do you think this tariff stuff is only short-term panic for the market? No, I mean, my belief on the whole tariff situation, right? And that is completely disregarding my feelings about Elon, Trump, whatever, right? Tariffs are bearish the world. Like the more tariffs you have, the worse it is for just generally everyone. Now, sometimes the country might win, sometimes the country might lose, but just generally, all in all, that's a bearish thing. So the more we get tariffs, right? The more Trump sticks with his tariff plan, the more bearish I'm gonna be on just generally everything. I think there's a reason why the S&P is underperforming like even the trashiest of the trash markets right now. And it's people kind of like being like, Trump is actually serious about this shit. And the US is gonna hurt. So right now, the US is losing a lot of influence all over the world, in my opinion, and that's being priced in. And that the problem is that now that we, like, that crypto just kind of was like, hey, we are Trump people. If the S&P struggles, crypto is going to struggle too. And it's supposed to be like, not like, it's obviously always been a little bit like that, but it's supposed to be safety from government overreach and all that shit. But now that we've invited the government in a way, it lost that appeal a little bit. So, yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Should people load up on crypto in your opinion? No idea. I was pretty certain we're gonna go up at 16K. That's where you load up on crypto. Right now, it's hard to say. I mean, I think there's a few altcoins where you could get really lucky. Like if you wanna gamble on a lottery ticket, I think some of these altcoins look quite good. Like I really like Litecoin here. I still really like XRP. I mean ETH. Fucking hell, can't really talk about that. But there's a few altcoins that I like, that I still have some positions. But I also am cognizant of the fact that I already took a bunch of profits, right? Like I'm sitting pretty here. Like if this entire thing goes to zero, I mean, so be it. I'm gonna be fine. Like this is the cycle where I've most aggressively taken profit because. And the reason for that is basically because I understand the fact that I'm not a macro kind of guy, and the market is now so big that it's just ruled by macro, and so I've lost a lot of my edge, and so I'm just taking more profits. Litecoin looks freaking amazing. Yeah, I mean this. I don't know. Like this is. I told you guys like XRP best looking chart in crypto like at 0.6, and then it just fucking ripped, and I get similar vibes from Litecoin. Problem is right now, like when I said the XRP thing, it was pretty obvious that the crypto market generally was gonna go up. Like that was in November, right? So like that was right when Trump won basically. That was like a pretty obvious play. Now, we're in the opposite situation where it's not really clear where this is gonna go. Technically, we broke a range to the downside. So when I was like bull posting XRP, we were in the process of breaking out of a range. Now, but to the upside, now we're doing the opposite. But like if that wasn't the case, like you'd see me bull posting this all over the timeline. Like I like it. The good thing is that if everything goes down, I mean, at least you're not gonna sit on minus 90%. You might just sit on minus 50 if everything goes to shit. But yeah. Don likes the Litecoin candle, but he created it with his buy. I was a little bit more careful than that. It's not me. There's other people buying with me. I mean, just what the fuck? Like you don't even see, like you look at Bitcoin, you're like, this is awful. And then you look at Litecoin, you're like, oh, I mean, this looks quite nice. So on what exchanges are you trading besides Woo? On pretty much all of them. I have an account on all of them. Right now, I'm not really trading. Like I just buy shit, spot, and then I just make sure it's somewhat safe, and that's it. Like I'm not doing much like clicking. If anything, like yesterday I clicked and and then I look. But yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the situation right now. Like I said, a lot of altcoins look to me good. As we're talking, Popcat just popped by like infinite. That's why, like, I tweeted yesterday, kind of like a thing where I was like, old season, right? And I think the chances of it have never been better this cycle. Like a proper, like the big coins, not the shitty everything goes up, but like stuff like this doesn't surprise me one bit. The way the market is positioned right now, I think a lot of people are freaking out, and smart people are buying altcoins. This is why you're seeing this shit. That's why I shilled them yesterday. Yeah, I mean, I shilled Litecoin down here when it was literally down here, and now it's up here. Still, like that's a nice 14% move. And the cool part about it is that Bitcoin's down. So if Bitcoin starts going up, they're gonna look much, much better. Can you show support resistances for Litecoin lower time frame? I don't think they matter. The lowest time frame you need to give a shit about is, I mean, honestly, it's just the monthly. It's just how it is. Like this is just the trade. The trade is you had an ascending triangle here. Look, ascending triangle. You broke out. We're consolidating above it, and next target is 230. What do you think of Sol? I wanted $120. I don't think so. No, I don't know. Sol is one that I will stay away from. Just because I think this Solana, like the whole pump fund thing and the whole like presidents launching coins on it, is gonna have like a rat tail that's gonna persist and linger. I don't like it. I think there's better choices. There's like a bunch of people are shilling Sui in the chat, like Sonic. Like there's 10 different layer ones that don't have this baggage. I think you're probably better off looking at those and then deciding which one you like the best out of those. Would you trade E for Litecoin right now, assuming you didn't have Litecoin already? No idea, man. I just buy both. And maybe I'm wrong on the Litecoin. Like I don't fucking just jump into this like lemmings just because I like it. Doesn't mean much, and it's up a lot already in comparison to everything else. I'm just saying I like it. That's why I bought it. What do you think of Trump coin as a trade? If you're up to date on the whole unlocks, then I mean trade however you like. I think Trump, whenever the market turns, is probably a good bet. I don't know how it's looking right now. I have it somewhere here. Like the moment the market turns, you're gonna get like a decent candle on this, but there's going to be unlocks and Trump is going to dump on you. And they have 80% of the supply. So you don't want to be caught in that. Is there a reason why you don't put volume as an indicator? Is it because there are so many venues to buy from? Sorry if you've explained this before. No, I just don't give a fuck. Like, it doesn't really, like, I'm like, oh yeah, a lot of people bought here, a lot of people sold. It's not really that helpful to me. If I want to know if a lot of people bought or sold, I just check. But 90% of the time I don't want to. And yeah, there's a lot of venues. There's a lot of, like, I don't really care. I can tell you, looking at this, that there's a lot of people, a lot of people in here that sold. I don't need a volume indicator for this. And I can tell you that volume in here is very, very low in comparison to in here. Like, volume was really low here, and then suddenly it's really high here. Just how it is. It's not really that helpful. There are just $2 billion unlocks in Sol. Yeah, I mean, it has had bigger unlocks before, as far as I'm aware, and they've been bullish. Price actually went up afterwards. But yeah, I just don't like the narrative for Sol anymore. That doesn't mean I like ETH better. It just means like anything that competes with Sol is going to have an easier time. That's kind of how I think at it. But yeah, that's it for today. Like I said, I need to keep it short. Thanks for coming by. Don't go too crazy just because I said like a bunch of Bitcoin pairs look good. Bitcoin does need to hold up for those to play out. So if you get like a good Bitcoin move where it starts moving up, I think like you're gonna see some nice action. But if you see Bitcoin go into the 70s, obviously not so great. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm a little bit excited about it. First time in a while that we're seeing some action on the altcoins while Bitcoin is just trading like a piece of shit. It's been the other way around, and let's see if it transforms into good moves on the altcoins or if it just stays like shit. Hard to say at this point. But yeah. And yeah, before I end the stream, big shout out again to Woo for sponsoring the show. Like I said at the beginning, their links are in the description. Go check them out. And yeah, thanks for coming by. Thanks for all the questions and everything. And we'll see how it looks tomorrow, or at the latest, we'll talk about it on Friday. So yeah, see you then. Bye bye.